Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the November Historic Preservation Commission meeting, and thank you for joining us today. My name is John Milner, and I'm chair of the Historic Preservation Commission, and typical of the HP Commission, we have a very full agenda today, and it's our goal to get everyone out of here in a timely manner. As a reminder, please limit individual conversations during the meeting. This ensures commission members and applicants can hear one another. Please remain quiet until you are called upon. When you speak at the podium, please state your name and address for our records. Before the commission votes on each item, I will ask if any members of the public wish to speak. Speakers are given 3 minutes to relay information to commission members. Please be thorough, but also mindful of our time. The agenda and documents for today's meeting are located on the PrimeGov site. If you're following along online, select Agenda on the right side of the Historic Preservation Commission meeting to see items being discussed. Written comments received more than 24 hours before today's meeting are posted online and were shared with commission members. At this point, new materials may not be shared with the commission. So if you brought handouts or examples with you, please keep them at your seat, as we cannot accept and review. I repeat, we cannot accept new information to review in today's meeting that was not submitted previously. Keith, will you please call the roll?
Milner.
Present.
Gaines.
Present.
Hoare.
Present.
Ramey.
Present.
Whitley.
Present.
Quorum.
Thank you. Procedures for today's meeting are noted in the agenda. For anyone unfamiliar with the process, please refer to the procedures section. There are 2 items we'd like to note specifically regarding this meeting process. These items involve certificates of appropriateness and appeals. With certificates of appropriateness, after an application is approved and the 10-day protest period expired, the Historic Preservation Officer will mail the certificate of appropriateness to the applicant. City construction permits cannot be issued until the CA is issued. Please contact HP staff for final design review, inspection, or to withdraw items that will not be completed. With the appeal to Board of Adjustments, any person aggrieved by a decision granting or denying a certificate of appropriateness may appeal to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustments. All appeals shall be made within 10 days of the commission decision by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the Board of Adjustments. Katie, any news from the Office of Historic Preservation?
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay, do we need to move anything today?
No, I don't think we have anything that needs to be adjusted on the agenda today.
Okay, have commissioners had a chance to review the minutes from the October 1st meeting? If so, do we have any questions or perhaps a motion to accept or modify?
I'll make a motion to approve the October minutes.
Okay, we've got a motion to accept. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a second. Commissioners, please vote in PrimeGov. Okay, the minutes have been accepted. Katie, anything from code enforcement?
Nothing specific to report. As always, if you see items on that code enforcement report that's in the packet each month, feel free to reach out to staff with any questions or contact the Action Center.
Okay, any continuance announcements or requests?
We have 1 uncontested continuance request. The applicant just needed more time to finalize materials of their application. And no new requests. So we just need a motion and vote to continue HPCA 25-00112 to the December meeting, and that is December 3rd.
Okay, do we have a motion to continue item HPCA-25-00112 to the December 3rd hearing?
All motion.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that item has been continued. I see we've got no new request. Public hearings.
We have 2 items on the consent docket. That means that they met applicable guidelines and regulations, and staff had no conditions recommended for each of those. So the commission can pull those to discuss or ask questions, or vote on those in a batch as a consent docket.
Okay, commissioners, do we have any questions on the 2 items on the consent docket today?
I move approval of the consent docket.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve the 2 items on the consent docket.
Second.
Do we have a second? We've got a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, the 2 items on the consent docket have been approved. If you were on the consent docket, congratulations, your project is approved. You have the option to stick around for the remainder of the meeting, or you can head out. That'll take us into items for individual consideration. We've got 10, so we'll get right into this. Item 1, HPCA-25-00092 at 119 Northwest 18th Street. Katie, tell us about this project.
This is in Heritage Hills East, Ward 6, consideration and possible action on application by Shelley and Gary Taft for certificate of appropriateness to 1, remove vinyl and underlying wood siding required, and 6, replace wood siding required. This is an application that the commission has seen once before. These items were continued for further discussion. This is work that has already been initiated or completed at the site. So the applicant is applying for products that they've already initiated the use of. The proposed replacement is a wood textured cementitious product that's at the gable ends of what's otherwise a brick structure. Staff has recommended another continuance as this product is not consistent with what the guidelines allow for the replacement of wood siding.
Okay, Katie, thank you. Is the applicant present? Okay.
Trying to get a hearing.
Yeah, it would, yeah. You're welcome to come forward and speak on this item. And please state your name and your address for the record.
Okay, Gary Taft, 119 Northwest 18th.
Okay, and I know you were here at the last commission, right?
Yes.
Okay, so has there been any changes to this application, or?
Now, we supplied some more information that, photos that Angela asked us for, that we didn't have, we had to obtain them.
Okay. Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions on any items that have been resubmitted?
Is that better? Using that?
So there's a comment from HPI that says that staff needs certain information to provide a recommendation and it has not been submitted. So are you still needing additional information, Katie, or are you still saying, it's just not compatible with the guidelines?
Angela, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we have what we need as far as what they are requesting. It's just that it's not a product that the guidelines support.
Okay.
If I could speak, Shelley Taft, same address.
Yep.
So initially, we didn't have the photographs of the underlying material, and we obtained those from our contractor, and a different product was used. We did supply some photographs of, this is our neighbor's home, opposed to our gables in the same photograph. We just feel like what was used was compatible and similar. At the time, of course, because of the whole CA process, we did not know what could be used, but I feel like from the street side that it's very comparable to, you know, what is being used in the neighborhood.
So, Katie, if, because generally the removal of vinyl is encouraged maybe, well, I don't know, maybe. But had this been done before and it was recommended or requesting to take the vinyl off and replace it, and what was under it was not original lapboard siding, what product would the guidelines recommend?
So the guidelines say that if we, presumably on a house where there was siding, that product, based on the age of that house, would have been wood siding. These other later materials wouldn't have been the original fabric, even if that's what we find today. So the guidelines would say that when you're replacing siding, you need to go back with wood siding on the historic structure. There are some allowances for fiber cement siding in non-visible locations on the rear of the structure. But generally speaking, if it's in a visible location and if we believe that it would have been wood siding originally, then the guidelines say you go back with wood.
Okay, so
Right.
the neighborhood comment about needing to get more information is resolved, if I understand it correctly. So really the choices come down between, is there a unique circumstance that this is high, and even though it's visible from the street, but the materiality of it maybe not be as prevalent, versus option B is a denial and then removal and go back with wood siding? Are those kind of our two courses of action?
Yeah, or approve with the condition that wood siding is used. Because you're reviewing this as if it hadn't occurred yet. So if this was an application where the work had not yet taken place, it would be a request to remove vinyl siding, replace with new siding, and you would have the option to approve it with the condition that the new siding be a wood product. That makes sense, as opposed to a denial, because a denial kind of starts it all over again. But the applicant has to agree to the condition, of course.
I didn't hear the last comment.
Just that the applicant has to agree to a condition. They can't approve something with a condition that you do something in a certain manner if you haven't agreed to do that.
Okay.
And the porch railing that was in question is not on this CA, right?
Right, the applicant has worked with staff to get that to a point of approval.
Okay.
Okay, commissioners, any other questions on this? I am going to ask, are there any comments from the public on this item? And we do have some notes from the neighborhood.
Didn't agree with, because it's not the correct siding.
Yeah.
I struggle, I know it's costly to put this in, and it's an improvement from the vinyl. It is kind of minimally visible. It's not a lot of siding from the front facade. I'd hate to make you tear it out personally. I mean, it's just, I know it doesn't meet the guidelines, but at some point we can't spend $100,000 on home repairs. So I think I could make a unique circumstance that it's an improvement from the vinyl siding, and not that it's minimally visible in the front facade, and
That it's high up.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. I do think you've improved it. It's not a cheap product, but I just wish it fit the guidelines. So, but I tend to agree with Cassie. So do we have enough oomph in a unique circumstance? Would be the question.
I mean, that's up to you all. If everyone's comfortable with that as a motion and as a unique circumstance, then I'd say.
Have you gone and gotten the cost estimates to what it would cost to replace with wood siding?
No, we have not.
No, I tried to call Forster Lumber.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind speaking into the, yeah, sorry.
I tried to call Forster Lumber. I'm thinking they may be the only one that carries it. And I can never get through. They don't answer their phone when you try to get to it. And I haven't physically went over there to see. But even the lady that was head of the committee or the area, the neighborhood, I don't remember her name, you know, she knows it's about 3 times the price. So, I mean, this is a huge difference in costly. And when I redone the whole house, and I wasn't expecting this when we done the inspection. And it just, I was financially struggled to get this on there. I don't know if I'd ever got the other, you know.
Yeah,
it's just-
the challenge that we face as the commission is we don't want to, I hate to make you tear it down and
Yeah,
put it out, because I think in the
understand.
end of the day, like, you're not really gonna, it doesn't affect the character of the street or the house. It's just when there's a miss from the guidelines, we don't want to be seen as blessing avoidance of the guidelines. So it's just, we need to come up with a unique circumstance that would allow it to pass.
Would you be willing to go to Forest and talk to them and find out how much it would cost?
Yes, sir. Yes, not a problem.
Would you be willing to allow us to do a continuance to allow you to go down there and get an estimate? So at least when you come back, we'll have that information. It may be something where you'll agree to do that.
Yes, I mean, and do you want me to get a contractor's quote of tearing that down and installing the new?
Well, that's not important to us. My main question is, we could give you a continuance to allow you to go do that. If you don't have any desire to go do that or look at it, then that's a different scenario. But if you understand that that puts us in a really bad position, and our preference would be that you go for the wood, if you would at least go to have that conversation, and I understand you have to go to Forest, they're not going to answer the phone. But if you go down there and talk to them about it and try to get that to bring back to us, I know it's some work to have to come back here, but I think that would put us in a better position to at least know that you've tried to look at that and tried to make an effort to do that. So I think that would make me more comfortable personally as a commissioner.
Can you tell me exactly what you're looking for? Just a quote on paper of just the product or the square footage, or what are we kind of looking for?
I don't need to know the price of it. I need to know that you're willing to look at it. If it's,
Sure.
if it's,
We purchased the other product at Forest Lumber that we have on it now, so I can tell them to give me a price. I don't know if they're gonna have the information on how much I bought or whatever, but I can still have them give me an average, write it down and put their signature on it of what this was gonna cost, the difference. Show them pictures or whatever, you know, in that material. But now I need to know though, if I don't get it, if I go there and they don't have it, who's gonna have that product? I don't know of any, I'm gonna say high-end lumber yards that carry that product, Lowe's and Home Depot.
I'm pretty sure that Forest
There's
does.
probably a few experts in here that could guide you.
Well, yeah, I've heard there's some experts in here, that's what I'm saying. I don't know, you know, of anybody else that carries that locally.
I think what you could do.
Understanding what Commissioner Gaines is after there, I hesitate to send you on, to me, that's a waste of everybody's time. Like, I don't think, if you go and show that you're willing to price it, I don't know that we have any different decision points
I don't
to
either.
make this same conversation, have the same conversation next month, and then we've just wasted the commission's time and wasted your time. So
I would say my concern as staff is that when we review cases, there's always going to be a product out there that is cheaper than the product that meets the guidelines, whether that's a front door or a garage door or a window. And so asking, well, show us that this would cost more than that isn't generally a path we try to go down, because it's always going to cost more, or often it's going to cost more when we're using the materials that meet the guidelines. So I certainly understand the intent behind that, but I think that the fact that wood siding is more costly than alternative siding materials really can't be a decision-making, you know, factor for you all, because that's going to be the case with every single application we have to replace siding.
I know it's more expensive. My thought is, if you have any willingness to maybe look at replacing it to be proper, we could give you a month to do that. If it's going to be more expensive and you have no desire to do that, then you probably don't need to go do it. But that's just my point.
I mean, at this point, I don't think, you know, that we have the desire. I'm willing to do the legwork, but the project, the size of the project is just huge.
Okay.
yeah, I think it's one of those that if I'm in your shoes, I wouldn't want to electively do that either. I would only do that if I was forced to do that. So that's the decision we have to make. Either we force you to take it off and put wood on, or we approve it with unique circumstances. To me, those are the two options.
And clarify, Katie, if this was a brand new build, the product that they are using would be acceptable?
So actually, because the product has a faux wood grain finish, it wouldn't be acceptable for new construction either. That's supposed to be a smooth finish fiber cement or smart side or comparable material. Which again, at that height, at that distance, is not terribly visible, but that's what the guidelines say for new construction and additions.
I could get behind a motion to approve with unique circumstance that it's an improvement from vinyl, it's high up, and it's minimally visible from the front elevation. Do you want me to make a motion?
As you looking at me.
To word it in
You
a
said it so
question.
well.
I mean, that can be your motion. You don't have to say it again. We got it. If you,
Okay.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay, so we've got a motion to approve with a couple of unique circumstances. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that item has been approved with the unique circumstances. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
next up, we have HPCA-25-00099 at 315 Northwest 26th Street.
This is Jefferson Park, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Louise Torres, RD Contracting for Kirsten Scott, over-the-top roofing and construction for certificate of appropriateness to 1, renovate dwelling required, 2, construct addition elective, 3, install fence required, and 4, replace driveway required. This has been seen by the commission once previously, so they have 1 continuance remaining. I don't believe we've received any new information since that previous time. So we do overall still have a recommendation of continuance on these items as has been discussed before. There are several individual components of this where we've got a recommendation to approve in the staff report, but I think it probably makes the most sense to just continue them all as a whole if we don't have any forward progress on the larger items.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present? Okay, please come forward.
Hello.
And please state your name and your
Luis-
address for the record.
Luis Torres. It's 315 Northwest 26th Street.
Okay, and tell us about this project.
So I came up as a hire for the new owners. So they did some pre-construction that they didn't pull any permits. So I tried to pull new permits, and I tried to get the pine siding that she wanted, the smooth siding, and aluminum windows with the wood on the inside. So that's and then I think they did the roofing without permits. So, but I see that a couple of streets down, they have the same charcoal color instead of the gray color. So I'm trying to see if we can proceed with the permits. I know about the concrete, but it was existing from 5 years ago. And I got some new floor plans that she requires me to redo, and I send that to her too.
Okay. And just to make sure, when say, did we receive information? I'm sorry, you've got to walk me through this again. What?
So the documentation in your packet is the only documentation that has been reviewed by staff.
Okay.
Additional documentation was submitted last week that was not included in your packet because staff has not reviewed it yet.
Okay.
The color of the roof is irrelevant for us. You can choose any roof color that you would like to for your roofing permit. The primary issues with this project are, in my opinion, the size of the windows on the front of the building, whether or not the posts on the front porch are going to be returned to their original condition, and whether or not the windows that are located on the west side of the house, as illustrated in the packet that you have, are adequate for reconstruction based on the prior condition of the building.
And Angela, do we have documentation of what the original columns were on the front? Okay.
Is that the photo from 2004?
Yes, I think we've got a photo in your packet here that,
Hang on, I'm getting
There.
Yeah, page 1 of
there you go.
the photo history. So what's shown in the drawings, the columns, do not match what is originally there. Are you willing to match the original column features?
Yes, so I redid the new plan and I sent it to her with the new, the columns, and I redid the siding and I redid all the existing windows to code.
Okay.
Of what the existing, of the original of the house.
Okay.
So it sounds like we might have made some progress here, and we just got the materials too late for them to be incorporated for this meeting. What I would say is we could continue this to the December 3rd meeting, and there may be some of these items that we can administratively approve in the meantime.
Okay.
Like rebuilding columns to match the existing is something we can do administratively, for example.
Okay.
So we can work with the applicant between now and that next meeting
Okay.
on those things.
Do you follow? Okay, since we can't see all of that revised information, we're probably going to make a motion to continue. But staff might be able to look some of those over and approve some of those items before you have to come back. So we might narrow some of those items down. I just want to be clear, we don't have the most up-to-date info, right? Angela, is that
Right.
correct? Okay, okay.
And I assume you would want to come back at the first opportunity,
Yes.
December 3rd?
Yes, and what about the concretes? And it was there already?
There's a new driveway and a new fence that are expansive compared to what was there previously. Once the work began, that driveway was installed and the fence was installed. Initially, it was believed that the fence was on the same plane as the neighbor to the west, but it is not. It is forward of. And I do need your opinion, since I cannot administratively approve a driveway that exceeds 10 feet in width where there was none previously, and I cannot administratively approve the location of the existing fence.
Do we know how wide the new driveway is?
I do not.
But you're saying that driveway is 5 years old?
So
Everything that has happened to this house is approximately 5 years old, except for those items that have had continuous work to them since then. This was initiated by the citation process, unfortunately.
on the new plans, I have the fence moved back. We can move the fence back.
Okay.
Okay, so,
I can work on
so
that.
are you okay with us making a motion to continue to the December meeting? Okay, so I move that we can,
Did you get the answers that you needed on the
Does the
driveway?
commission have any opinion on
On
the
the width.
width of the driveway?
I'm trying to look at the
if we don't have the
photos.
dimensions of what it is, I don't think we can comment on that.
Do you know the dimensions of the driveway, Luis?
It looks like it abuts the neighbor's gravel drive.
And there was an alley of some sort there at one point as well,
Behind
a
the,
north-south
Oh, okay.
I
alley.
can't really see if there's a curb cut or what's happening.
Yeah, I don't have the dimensions here because he shows like it's in between the old whole alley it was there before, but it's fenced, the alley that it was there before.
It doesn't look egregious from the photo that I'm looking at.
I have guessed that as it approaches the house, it's approximately 12 feet wide, while the curb cut itself is significantly wider to incorporate the driveway, the abutting driveway, and the possible alley.
There's an aerial, just to get a look at it. But it sounds like maybe we need
Yeah, we need more
the real
information.
dimensions for it.
Because that meander widening would be atypical of a historic driveway.
Yes, I don't think that's going to change anything between now and December, but when you come back, since you're going to be working with staff anyway, make sure you get the right dimensions for the driveway to be able to show us anything you can. So
Yeah.
is that okay with you?
Correct.
Okay.
What about the roof? Are we okay with the roof? Since, I mean, it's the same shingles that everybody's using on the other houses?
Yeah, so replacement of a non-historic roof, a composition shingle roof with a new architectural grade composition shingle roof doesn't actually require a CA.
Okay.
So I think you can proceed with that. There is a new requirement that you get a roof permit.
Okay.
So we'll keep an eye out on that if we need to sign off on that permit in the system, but that doesn't need to be approved by the commission.
Okay.
Hey, let me ask real quick, are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this item?
Can we, real quick, go back to the aerial view? Is the concrete like all the way to the edge of the
See, okay.
building?
All the way back.
And it-
Yes, I think
Right.
it comes all the way to the side.
Sides.
Yeah, along the porch there. See if I can go back to the,
there's quite a bit behind it too.
Yeah, there's a site plan in the drawings, and it shows the driveway all the way at the house, all the way back.
Did you want to speak?
Yeah.
And if you could
okay.
just state your name and address.
Okay,
for
my
the
name is
record.
Juan. I'm the owner to the house too,
Okay.
with my wife. So the concrete is like 12 by 7 longer. So Angela say we're supposed to have the concrete is like 12 or 10 by 40. So they added like 30 foot more.
In
So
depth?
but we purchased like that. So about the windows, we already make the order for like wood windows. It's about to be the same size. We about to replace the siding. Siding is about to be pine. It's about to be the same one was before, same style. We about to do all over like the same one. The only thing is like we already purchased the doors. It's about to be like the ones Angela required doors too. And this is just the roofing is like we tried to pull the permit in the city, but they say we don't need pull no permit or nothing. That's why we're starting with the project. We tried 3 times to pull a permit before that. Everybody say we don't need a permit. That's why we're starting. So we put the roofing and everything because what's leaking inside to the house is starting to get damaged. Not allowed, but that's why we put the roofing.
Okay, commissioners, any other questions on any of these items?
No. I'd encourage you to continue to work with staff, and I'm going to make a motion to continue HPCA 2500099 to the December 3rd meeting.
Okay, we've got a motion to continue.
Second.
Do we have a second? We've got a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that item has been continued to the December 3rd commission hearing. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have HPCA-25-00115 at 827 Northwest 17th Street. Katie, tell us about this project.
this is in Mesta Park, Ward 6, consideration and possible action on application by Holly Hunt, HJH Design for Taylor Volk, Clover LLC, for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct 2-story accessory structure, elective, 2, construct 1-story garage, elective, 3, install fence and gate, elective, and 4, remove, replace, reconfigure concrete drives and sidewalks, elective. The commission has seen this property a number of times. Most recently, we approved the removal of a partially constructed new accessory structure that had been built without permits. The applicant came back after working with the commission, working with code enforcement to go ahead and remove that structure. Prior to that, the historic accessory structure had been demolished, also without permits. The applicant has is working with a new design professional on their application to come back with a kind of reconsidered design for a 2-story accessory structure that is in the footprint and approximate design of the historic accessory structure, and then to the west of that, a one-story, two-car garage. There are some items with this that overall concerns is just the overall massing proportion of two accessory buildings on this site. There was historically, obviously, the two-story structure or 1.5-story structure was there. There was a one-story garage that was not historic that was removed. There also have been a whole conglomeration of carports and other things at the site over the years that were not historic features. So one of the concerns is just the amount of accumulation of structures and materials and surface covering on the site. The other is each of these accessory structures that's proposed is sitting on side and or rear property lines, which can present an issue for building code, and it's not always typical of the historic condition. And then we have a space between the two structures that does not meet zoning. There's a requirement for a 6-foot separation between the two structures, and they're not 6 feet apart. Other than that, I think the applicant is just hoping to get some feedback and some direction from the commission on how to proceed with these two structures at this time.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present?
Hello, Holly Hunt, 5913 Northwest 82nd Circle. Yeah, so this is a very unique site. It's going to pose a challenge for all of us, so it's one to go down in the books. But mainly, I just want us to look at the unique circumstances that are on this site, namely, this whole block is very close and tight. If you have a picture of the alleyway, you can see that, I mean, for one, it's a beautiful, like, little cobblestone alleyway, and I encourage all of you, if you get a chance, just to drive through it, where we see a ton of accessory structures, some right up next to the building, some very close to each other, almost all of them on the property lines. And historically, this site has had the 2-story accessory structure, and then later on, they added a 1-car garage that was in the worst possible location, sitting right on the corner of Francis and that alleyway, which to me poses a huge traffic issue. So again, that's how my client purchased the project, and really his idea for that 2-story structure, which one thing I want to mention about that, because Katie is convinced that at one time it was a garage. We've seen no evidence of that. Like, I've never, even when the client was tearing it down, there's no header for any kind of garage opening or anything like that. It mentions in the staff report the changes to the site. When this house was built, it was almost like on a double lot. And so this driveway or whatever to get to that rear yard, it doesn't exist anymore. And there's no room to add a garage on either side of this house into the rear yard. So I'm thinking, even if that were the case, whatever year the neighboring house to the east was built, that was never used as a garage since. And instead, this has its own address, its own electric service. It was utilized as an apartment, I mean, presumably originally for servants, but then renters or whomever for at least since designation, but I would say half a century. It's never been used for parking. So again, this site has changed a lot over the years, and I think Katie mentioned, a lot of ugly carports and things. We're trying to get this property back to a historic, feel that it did have at one time, while also allowing my client to have a garage, which everyone in this district is allowed the garage, or the guidelines even allow for that when there isn't one previously present. So I did want to, that's mentioned in the staff report as well. We've been incredibly modest with that garage. We worked with Katie, even sat down with Thad Johnson at Subdivision and Zoning to really mess with that garage and trying to get it where it's not off of the property line, where we're not creating new curb cuts off of Francis, and where we're providing some off-street parking, because again, the lack of a driveway means there's no off-street parking for this house as it currently sits. So that's kind of the intro. I did want to mention, and you can see this very well in the comparison drawing of the two site plans. The only thing that we're changing to that existing two-story structure is the height. And that, that's something that we see a lot of times in replacement. You can also see it when you visit the site, or if we had better pictures along the alleyway, that there are several two-story garages on and other structures. In fact, the one that's just across the alleyway, that's not a garage at all. They do have some siding in the shape of a garage, but there's no openings there. It's not used as a garage either, and hasn't been for as long as we can find pictures of it. So our idea here is to rebuild that garage. And since it was approved for demolition, the thought was always to replace that structure. In fact, I'm reducing it in footprint slightly just to prevent the encroachment that currently exists. So we'll now fully be inside the property line with the new replacement. The garage, I understand, it's a very unique situation. And when we talk to open to built ratio, I really don't think it applies to any of these properties in this block, because almost all of them are completely covered, whether by concrete and or structures. And so I feel like this layout, while hearkening back to the past, structures that have been there from its original construction, we're just really trying to fix this one-car awkward garage that formerly sat on the corner there. And you can still see the footings of said structure. But again, being right on there in order to back out here is problematic. Again, it doesn't solve the off-street parking. So to rebuild in that location was never feasible.
So the garage,
Sorry.
is it one-story garage or a two-story garage? The garage.
The garage was one story, 450.
Okay. Okay, because you have this proposed second-story storage.
Yeah, so we're calling it an accessory structure, but again, it was like an apartment house.
But that's the other structure. That's the two-story
That's the
structure.
two-story,
The
correct.
garage itself is one story.
Correct.
Okay.
Very correct, yes. I'm bringing up the two-story structures on the alleyway just to show that it is a very common condition in this block.
Well, they weren't all labeled as, this is the garage, this is this two-story structure, so that's why I
Well,
was...
probably in my fury to get everything. Yeah, and I've probably done 7 versions of the site plan looking at all different ways. How if we were to approach these other structures from the south, how could you get there? It would take a curb cut off of Francis, since, again, you can see over time, the lot lines and parcels changed. At one time, I believe this sat on a double lot where there perhaps was a driveway. That no longer exists or is even feasible. So for us, and even working with Thad and Katie, it seemed like the best way to solve all those issues was to approach the garage from the alleyway. And yes, we are within 6 feet of the other structure, something that historically has always been. Keith, can you find the picture of the old 2 buildings that were connected? Oh, you don't do that anymore. Okay, sorry. I bet you like a shout out though. No, but historically that was always the case. These 2 structures were connected by breezeway. So I feel like we're not just going back to that historic non-conforming. We're trying to fix that problem. But in doing so, that area that was formerly the footprint of that garage can now be a little parking pad in front of our garage. That also moves the opening off of the property line, which would also occur if we were coming in off of Francis. So yeah, after about several iterations, we finally landed on something that solves all but one issue, which is that separation. And we're only 14 inches away. So I feel a variance is very likely to be approved, especially given this is one of the, I don't know if you guys know much about variances, but the grounds for which are to show a hardship, something that everyone else in your neighborhood has their buildings sitting on the property line or their buildings within that 6 feet. So that's the hardship, if you can prove that it's a common occurrence for your neighbors. So I feel like that variance would more than likely get approved. Again, not your problem. That's something that I'll have to deal with, once we get approval here. So, today, like Katie said, I fully expect a continuance. So I just really want us to talk about these things. I've tried to introduce all these issues so that you guys can have like a well-rounded view of this property. So yeah, I'm going to turn it over to you. Questions, comments?
I do have a question.
Sure.
I understand that there were two structures there, an apartment and a garage, but you keep saying historically they were, but that two-story structure is clearly not historic. So what I'm not understanding is if originally there were two structures there when this house was
is the
built.
historic one. That shows on the Sanborn maps from the pre-1910s.
There was let me navigate to the,
I didn't see the Sanborn maps on our packet.
It's that weird little garage that was added, I think, in the 60s or something.
so prior to the most recent two-story structure that was demolished, let me get to a good picture of it. Okay.
We're going to call that a fluke. He hadn't called me yet. He never would have.
So this is the historic accessory building. It is described in the Sanborn maps in every iteration as an auto house. And it has a form very typical of carriage house / garage structures that we see throughout Heritage Hills and Mesta Park.
That two-story structure?
Yep, this in the center here that's kind of a yellowish, creamish. Oh, I thought I am.
Oh, that one is the.
That one, yeah,
Okay.
this guy.
Right, so
Sorry, I thought you were
that's
saying
the one that
Yeah,
we're
sorry. No,
basically
sorry.
rebuilding exactly. We're just raising the roof by 2 feet so that you can stand up in there. And again, I would point out, they call it a 1.5 story, but that does not meet the definition that we're all having to use for 1.5. You can see that, that's more than 3 feet above the finished floor, and it's way more than 2/3 the square foot of the downstairs.
And that'll just be used as an accessory structure, not the garage.
Correct, that's correct.
So do this Sanborn show a separate one-story structure?
So let me refresh my memory here. I think the second garage is,
Oh, don't confuse
too many
me by
documents
calling
open.
it a
Hold on,
second
sorry.
garage.
Sorry, there's just been so many iterations of this.
You're
and
totally
trying
fine.
to get
that's-
straight
I
what
work-
was originally
Parking
there.
spot, but I
So
don't see a garage.
the one-story, non-historic garage that you can see it in some of the photos, and it's on Holly's site plan. That was constructed, and we have lots of photos of that from before it came down. That is never shown on the Sanborn maps.
Okay,
it's
so that was
it's
not
sometime
historically there.
post-1955. Now, it could have been 1956. I mean, it could be many, many years old, but it's not of the same era as the primary structure and the historic accessory building.
Okay.
Yeah, this house is, very old, and again, it was built prior to most of the other structures. So it's reduced in size, and we're kind of pinched down. But as you can see, almost none of these homes that face 17th have driveways. Most of them enter off the rear. Like you can see just adjacent, that whole back 18 feet are just paved all the way across for parking. So it's very unique. The very last house on this row, you can see their accessory structure is 2 feet from the back of their house, and it's a 2-story. It's actually not even a garage, it's just a 2-story structure that sits back there. And we see on some sites more than one accessory structure. So again, this is just unlike what we typically see in your 50 by 140 foot lots. So I would say all of that leads us, and again, you have to remember, they got these demolition CAs intending to replace those structures. Now,
Well, to clarify, they didn't get a CA for the demolition. They got a CA to demolish the second building that was built without permits. This building came down with no CA.
well, I beg your
So.
forgiveness because I was not a
Sorry.
part of the project at that
So
time.
I know, just to clarify.
So Holly, my concern is the
Yes.
site coverage. And listen, talk to Public Works. There's existing buildings that were standing downtown and now they've been demolished and they're greenfields. And they're
know.
making on-site detention requirements.
Sure,
Regardless of the argument of whether or not something at one point stood there and it didn't, wasn't fully a green site. So I think this is just too much coverage. I am fine with the accessory building generally, but I think the garage and an accessory building is just excessive.
Yeah, I kind of agree. You talked about the hardship of them, deserving a garage. Well, I mean, the two-story structure could be the garage. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't need both.
Well, again, I think that is a major point of contention, which I know that the burden of proof is on me, but for at least 80 years, this never served as a garage, and I truly believe it never did. There's no evidence of it in the original structure, and it was common for, a very large mansion, in this case, a 3-story with a full basement, to have a huge staff and to have a secondary structure that was for housing, always meant for housing. And maybe back in the original construction, there just wasn't another letter but A for auto that they put on secondary structures. I don't know. But this, to me, has never functioned as a garage. So,
And we're not saying it has to. I think what I'm saying is I think it's excessive to have a garage and a 2-story accessory building. That, like, you didn't help the argument to me, saying it's already a really large house. So now you're adding potentially, 2 units in an accessory building and a 2-car garage? That's a lot. It's a lot.
yeah.
On a lot.
I understand. This is one of the, well, it is the biggest lot that faces 17th. And again, I mean, I guess I could come and show you guys just how frequent this is, the multiple accessory structures. And I think even if the garage that was built, in the 60s or whatever, none of us like it. We're just trying to get some off-street parking on this site, which I think the guidelines do allow for, even if there's a historic 2-story accessory structure. The guidelines do allow for that 450 garage, even if there historically wasn't one. So I feel like that's more in line with where we're at. And again, I understand your point about coverage, but no one else has to follow that coverage rule, which again is an R1-based zoning rule, not applied to this district. So it's certainly not something they're going to bring up when we go to get our permit, because it's not a requirement in HP. Drainage, also I'll mention, is not an issue on this site. There's a 3-foot change in grade from the finished floor of the house to the alleyway. And you can see even on the pictures, the existing foundation that's set up quite a bit, like it's more than 2.5 feet off of that alleyway. So again, and it was always that way. It was level with the backyard, and then you step down to the alleyway. So again, our thinking is relocating entry points and driveway off of the alleyway solves a lot of traffic issues, solves a lot of coverage issues, because if we were to try to utilize that 2-story structure as a garage, it would mean a ton of excavation, it would mean a ton of dirt work, it would mean a lot more concrete covering this existing backyard, which, if we want to talk about remediating some of that backyard to go back to grass, I'm happy to do that. But if you'll notice on the site plan, we're only increasing the site coverage by 3%.
You're increasing it by 3% from what was existing. It's not existing anymore. It's been demolished.
No, it's still, you can see the foundation. I mean, it's still that covered. Again, if we wanted to remediate some of that concrete,
I'm gonna add
we
some
could
more
do that.
comments real quick.
Sure.
So we did have comments from HP, or from the Mesta Park, that they recommend a continuance. Is there anybody else that wants to speak?
Yeah, I don't think I can get on board with this as it's submitted right now. You said it's a 4,500 square foot house that you're adding 1,000 more square feet of living and storage space plus a garage
It's
for
not
what
adding,
is
it's
for what is not a
rebuilding.
big lot. It is the average size lot. It's not a big lot.
The 2-story is a replacement. It's not an addition. It was always there. We're just trying to rebuild it because it was dilapidated.
Yeah,
That's fine, but we also still don't know that that garage was historic. It's existing, but we don't know it's historic. We don't know it's not, but again, the onus is on you to prove that.
So can I ask, Commissioner Whitley, would like a one-car situation make more sense, or a carport be preferred?
I just think if the, Sanborns are saying that the existing two-story structure was used as an auto house, then it needs to be used as that again if you're going to replacement. I know you say you can't see, that it was used as one. You don't think it was one, but the Sanborns have labeled it, and we don't know that there hasn't been work that's done inside to change it.
the photos look like there's an overhead door on the yard side,
But
but it's hard to tell.
And again, I think that was just maybe added when they added that carport or something, maybe that's the
Yeah.
joist that was holding some other piece. And even there, okay, so, are we to assume that's a garage door? It's still only a one car. This
I
really
know,
isn't
I know.
feasible for a two-car garage anyway. And so that's what I'm saying is if the guidelines allow for a 450-foot garage, even where there wasn't one historically, how can we tell this homeowner no? Especially when, many other neighbors have both a two-story structure and a garage,
So my opinion is, first I want to say, what was done without a CA was to replace what was historic with a monstrosity that was halted. So your proposal to go back with something that approximates the original, I applaud. I think it's great. I think that is very appropriate. I'm trying to separate, this property has a lot of history and had a lot of opposition from the neighborhood, primarily surrounded by the potential or perceived use. So I see some benefits in what you're proposing. I see the benefit of one of the complaints in the past was traffic on the street and backing out over the sidewalk. So reorienting it where you're accessing the garage from the alley, I think improves the neighborhood concern. But by pulling it back into the yard and essentially allowing 4 off-street parking, it's sort of indicating that it's being used for not single-family residential.
Can I tell you the reason is because they do not count your garage parking as parking.
I understand.
So even because trust me, the first version, it was aligned and didn't stick into the backyard. And then Thad and Katie and I had that meeting, and they're like, no, you still have to provide a minimum of 2 parking spaces on your site, on your property. So again, this
Wait, what
is
is
a
that?
case.
Who is driving that?
Well, that's just base zoning, R1 zoning.
This
The
isn't
garage
R1
does not-
zoning.
I know.
It's
Can you
not,
speak
it's
to
not
that?
R1 zoning, it's single-family residential.
Sorry,
The
thank
use,
you.
single-family residential, you are required to have 2 parking spaces, and parking in the garage doesn't count. This almost never comes up for us because everybody has a 110-foot-long driveway, and we're dealing with existing driveways and existing garages. But when initially Holly came in and the driveway was sitting on the property line with the garage door opening on the property line, I said, you're not going to be able to get a permit to build that because your entire driveway is in the public right-of-way. You don't even have space to park a car and not hang out into the street. And while if your existing condition is that you don't actually have space to park 2 cars, that's fine. When you're altering that condition and you're adding a new structure, you need to meet that requirement. So,
And she's referring to one of those many site
Understand.
plans that I had created a new curb cut off Francis, similar to the existing, that 1-car garage came off of Francis. And then that's when all that was brought up to me. So again, this is a combination of me trying to do a lot of homework at the front end and then bringing something to you all that probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you, but you know, that this is the world we live in. I'm
No,
trying to do my best.
I appreciate the effort, I really do. The thing that I'm struggling with is I think personally, if there is an existing, if there were two existing structures and you're approximating both of those structures, I would get behind both of those. It's the expansion and relocation of the two structures and the increased density, and by code driving the 2 extra spots, you're increasing your lot coverage. It's just, not saying it's your fault. I think you've done a nice job coming up with the solution. But it's like it's a lot of
Lot
stuff.
to ask.
It's
I
a
know.
lot of stuff.
I mean, that's why this has been denied, and that's why everybody has a bad taste in their mouth. And that's, you know, honestly, I wanted today to be exactly what it is, a discussion. Let's try to cleanse our palate from the past, and let's try to work together to find a solution that works for everyone. I mean, I think that there's no question you can find plenty of unique circumstances for this lot. Given its location, given its history, given its change and reduction in lot size over time, given the fact that I'm not increasing the lot coverage, I mean, by very much at all. An increase of 3% is not going to matter with drainage. And the fact that my client's really willing to do what we can. If we need to remediate that backyard to give back some grass, you know, there is more concrete, you know, you see that existing concrete patio with a little curve, you know, that could go back to grass. We can look at some more permeable options if lot coverage is truly the issue. But I think, you know, if you apply that in a strict sense here, you know, what are you going to do when some of these other structures come for replacement? Because they have the same experience with their lot.
Sure. Yeah, I think, I don't want to speak for the whole commission, but I think if you came back with a proposal to do a 2-story garage that approximates that historic 2-story structure, that's a slam dunk, no issue.
Well, I know
It's
I can get
making
that.
the pitch for approximating the 250 square foot garage, which is a 1-car garage.
Well, again, these are two separate structures. We have the accessory structure, 2-story, historic, right? And then all I'm trying to do is, whether it's historic or not, add 450 square foot garage, which everyone in the neighborhood by right and guideline is allowed to do.
Is that a true statement if there's a historic garage?
The guidelines allow for construction of a 1-story, 2-car garage, even if you did not historically have a garage. But you still have to meet other applicable guidelines for lot coverage, for just compatibility with the site and the structure. So I would say there's a little wordsmithing going on there, that if you have other structures on your site already, you aren't automatically just permitted to build an additional garage regardless of what you have. And we have this come up all the time when people want to convert a garage to a pool house or to some other home office, that we say, okay, you know, you can go for that, but there's no guarantee that when the next homeowner comes in 5 years and they say, well, I need a garage now too, that they're going to be allowed to also build a garage. Because it's about the site, the relationship between the structures, the built to open space ratios. So, yeah.
And one thing I will mention, the current owner purchased this property when he wasn't living in it or even in the state. And, you know, so I think at that time he wasn't aware of most of this. In fact, I know he wasn't. And so but he and his wife currently do live in this house. And this is going to be their primary home. And that 2-story structure will function as their home office. And yeah, I mean, the garage is really just a way for us to provide and fulfill the requirements of the city, while channeling that guideline that does allow for a 450-foot garage, even when there's not a historic one to replicate. So yeah, I mean, I know it's a lot to
Holly,
ask,
I'm
but
sorry, I'm
Wrap it up.
trying to keep us on time here.
Fair enough.
We've got a very full agenda.
Thank
but
you all for your
I have a
comments.
feeling this is going to move towards continuance, but I need to ask, are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? If there are not, commissioners, do you have any last remarks for Holly, or do we have a motion on this?
The only thing that I want to add is if you are going to really push for this two-story structure and say that it was never used as a garage, then we need to see that. Take photos of the inside where we think we see that garage door opening, say, no, this is not an opening, there's not a header here. You know, things like that. You need to bolster your argument, I think, before more of the commissioners get on board. And, you know, I know you say they want to use it as a home office, but again, they have over 4,000 square feet in their house. I'm sure there is a room they could use for an office. They're not automatically, you know, by right, get to do this and that. So,
But they shouldn't be punished for having a big house either.
So I will say, you know, the historic structure's gone.
right.
So we can't, I mean, beyond what anyone may still have available.
We're digging, we're trying.
But what I will say that we've asked for repeatedly on this project at various reviews was documentation of the relationship between the grade of this building and the surrounding site. Because what we've heard over and over is you can't put a garage here because of the change in grade, the topography, the retaining walls, et cetera. And we've never really gotten evidence of that. I'm looking at a shiny brand new concrete retaining wall that was poured after the brick retaining wall was removed, that's right on the alley. And it's hard for me to see why that couldn't be an opening into a garage.
and
But I'm just
actually,
saying
Katie,
that I think that's,
You're the one that blew my mind that that lot used to be bigger and that at one time you did approach that garage from the front.
we're on a corner, we're on an alley, there's multiple potential points of entry to a garage in any location at the rear of this yard. So saying, well, we just can't make this structure a garage, I think, you know, if that's an argument to be made, we need more evidence of that, of why this location, this
Anything
structure
can be
can't
done, it just takes excavating.
I'm going to make a motion to continue. Do you want it December 3rd or January 7th?
Holly, which commission? Do you want to go to December or January? Because if you want to do December, you got to have it by next Tuesday?
Let's go to January, even though I almost never do that.
I'll make a
but-
motion to continue HPCA 2500115 to the January 7th meeting.
Okay, we've got a motion to continue this to January. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioners, cast your votes. Okay, that item has been continued to January. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have HPCA-25-00117 at 829 Northwest 41st Street. Sorry.
This is Crown Heights Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Sarah Wernicke, Old Home Rescue, for Greg Shepard for certificate of appropriateness to install storm windows elective. The applicant is present and they're going to speak a little bit about the discussions we've been having with storm windows. Something that has come up on the review of a couple of different applications has been the visible light transmittance, the reflectivity on some of the modern storm window products that we are seeing, and trying to make sure that just as we want a primary window replacement to have clear, transparent, non-reflective, non-tinted glass, that also translates over to the storm window. So I'll let them speak. They've put together some information for the commission about what they're working toward.
There you go. All right, Morgan Reinert with Old Home Rescue. We're working on this project for the Shepherds, and I apologize in advance because I'm going to read, because this is very technical things that I do not want to misstate. So, regarding the reason in which that we're having the discussion today is kind of per staff in that it's that the numbers and the window information out there, and trying to weed through all of this is really difficult because there's multiple acronyms that kind of mean things of, there's solar transmittance, there's visible light transmission, and then there's just a VT number. So I do want to admit that based on the information that we previously submitted, I agree with staff guidelines to say that we need more information on this, because what we submitted did not pass the guidelines. Since then, we have had to dive into this with engineers, consultants, glass technology as well. So kind of sorting through all of that terminology, now we do believe that they pass this, or pass the guidelines. I do want to start with a definition of terms, though. I led to a little bit of those. Okay, so visible light transmittance. That is what the guidelines state that has to be no less than 0.74. Visible light transmittance is okay, so visible light transmittance is how much visible light passes through a piece of glass. It's expressed as a decimal point. That's where we're talking 0.74. And the higher it is, the more visible is coming through there. The lower it is, the less light that is coming through. So the difference with this is that visible transmission, or the VT number that was submitted in the documents, is the assembly as a whole. That means that it's not the center of glass measurement that visible light transmission is. It's the assembly as a whole. So the AERC numbers, the Energy Star rating numbers that were submitted were based on this. Light doesn't pass through the frame, and in the certification or the Energy Star rating that was submitted, it was a 0.5 or a 0.48. That's because it was taking the frame into context here. The screen, the frame, everything. Every time we have a divide in the window component, it reduces that visible light that is passing through. The guidelines state, though, that it is visible light transmission, not the VT number. So I believe that we got it submitted in time, a letter from Birch Point Consulting that says, please note that the visible light transmission VLT requirements in the Historic Preservation Design Guidelines enlisted here should not be confused with the VT numbers found in the NFRC and the AERC labels, which are different. Those VT numbers are for the whole product assembly and include both glazing and framing, so are lower, not to be calculated the same. The apples to apples comparison with the VLT requirements and the preservation standards are the glazing VLT numbers from the glazing database. So the true this is historic glass, 1/8 inch single strength. It has a VLT of 0.9. When we're now, and a 11.1 reflectivity. When we now look at the low E Energy Star rated glass that is in here, it is a 0.842 glass on center. That VT rating does go down to the 0.5 or 0.48, but that's not what the guideline talks about, because it is specifically the VLT rating. Also with the VT rating, there are some things that change that, of course, or like the size of the window in a VT rating, which was submitted at that 0.5, 0.48 number. The size of the window changes, or the VT rating changes with the size of the window. So this small window versus one 3 times that size has a different VT number. So in some of the discussions with this, there's some other things that have come about that I think needed to be addressed. Like I said, the issues and considerations in this particular case was that the storm window has a VLT rating of 0.5. Guidelines says that it has to be 0.74 for all glass. This Pilkington product, the Pilkington glass product inside of this is a 0.842 and does meet the reflectivity of being less than 17%, so it's at 11.1. The other thing that was addressed in there was that a tinted or reflective glass is not permitted in windows. This is again a definition of a clarification in definitions, because tinted glass and low E glass are not the same thing. So tinted glass is when metal oxides are mixed into the composition of the glass and there's a thorough color consistency through that. However, with low-E coatings, specifically this product, it is a chemical process during the manufacturing that is sprayed over top of it, that it's changed at the molecular level. Low-E coatings are not a film or reflective coating that is added to the surface. It's not a tint that's added to the surface. It's a molecular change to the glass. I'll let you guys, I'll turn it over to you guys to talk after that one.
So basically, what you're getting at is all modern glass that has low-E coatings on it inherently are a lower VLT than clear glass, historic glass?
Yes.
And what is that? Are there low-E glazing products that are above the 0.75 requirement?
Say the last part one more time.
The 0.75 is the guideline requirement for VLT?
0.74.
0.74.
Yep.
Are there low-E coatings glazing products that are at or above the 0.74 VLT?
In single glaze products, yes. So again, this is just regular clear glass. It's reproduction wavy, but it's the same as a just flat single pane glass. If you have a broken piece of paint or broken piece of glass on your home, would get replaced with this. This is a 0.9. It passes. This is a hard coat low-E product. It is 0.842. It passes based on VLT rating.
But you're saying that VLT rating, you know, that's from the glass and not from the average of the assembly, which sometimes gets confused in saying what passes or what doesn't.
Correct. So the guidelines specifically state VLT rating, not a VT rating.
Right.
And that gets a little bit confusing because I think there's one more part to yours of a VT rating on this window size versus a one twice the size changes.
Understood. VT is irrelevant to me. I think it's just confusing the conversation. The intent of the VLT is to get a clear, visible light transmittance, clear window, clear glazed unit. So the VT to me is just noise.
Yeah. In a double pane window, when you have two sets of that 1/8 inch glass to make an insulated glass unit, this one is a 0.7. They'll get talked about in our later one. It doesn't pass because it's a 0.7, not a 0.74.
And that is low-E coated on the outer pane. Well, regardless,
Yeah.
one of the panes is low-E coated.
Correct.
Dual pane, both are clear, non-tinted glazed
Correct.
units.
Correct.
Okay.
So in our guidelines, but it specifically talks about the VLT rating, but that really is speaking to the light transmittant of the glass, like it's not about the whole assembly, is that right? Do we
Right,
just need to
it's-
update the guidelines to talk about VT rather than VLT?
Well,
Because it sounds like that's getting confused.
I think we definitely need to look at the language we use all around glass and the color of glass and the transparency of glass and the reflectivity of glass. We need to look at the products that are currently available and what those numbers are that we can reasonably expect an applicant to be able to obtain. So, yes, but I think we have found various commercially manufactured products for window replacements for storm windows that meet those criteria.
Yeah, and I think the intent of the guideline is clarity and a lack of reflectivity.
Yeah, and not having the window look black. That's what we see sometimes when things have been installed that haven't been approved or where they were approved, but then what went in didn't actually meet that metric, that you go by the house and it looks like the windows have been blacked out because the glass is so,
Or it's just reflective and you can't see anything.
yeah.
One of the things that I would caution the commission and the guidelines to not use VT rating is because a 1/1 window, a 4/1, or a diamond light window all have different VT ratings that, because there is obstructions through the muttons, that is not, it's such a variable number based on also the size of it that I would highly recommend that the commission does not look at that number individually, because there's no constant to judge anything off of, to have a guideline off of.
Yep.
The VT rating of the center of glass is something that can be.
Yeah, and those are driven by other requirements of existing patterns, et cetera, that are going to
Right.
solve that component of the concern. I would agree.
Hey, commissioners, any other questions? Thank you for the presentation.
Thanks.
We do have we have to make a motion though, right? Or no?
Yeah.
You actually
So
have
what's actually being proposed?
Yeah, we still have to work, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you do have an application in front of you for a storm window, that what I'm hearing is that the glass in the storm window meets the VLT requirement of the guidelines. The storm window as a whole, when we're looking at the VT, which is a different measurement, does not meet the criteria in the guidelines.
The commission
Well,
does not
it's not,
review
that's
that.
not really what their guideline is. Yeah, it's two different measurements.
The specifics findings say that tinted or reflective glass is not permitted. Does what you submitted have tinted or reflective glass?
No. The storm window, no. The reference of the engineer's report does note that low E glass is clear annealed glass. It is not tinted.
Yeah, and without diving deep, because I'm not a glazing engineer, I would say all glass has some level of reflectivity. So then it's a question of what is that threshold?
Even this, which is historic glass,
Yeah.
has a reflective of 11.1.
Yeah. So when we look at that, because you may be clear, but if it has a reflective coating on it, like it's gonna look black. Or,
Do we have a number in the guidelines for reflective glass?
17%.
And I will say, I think in the guidelines, the way we use the words like tinted, patterned, sandblasted, it's not in the extremely technical, like chemical, microbiology, whatever sphere, but just does the glass look like it has a color?
Yep.
However that color was applied.
Is it a bronze
But so
tint or
so the goal is to get to a glass that does not read as if it has a color or a tint or a pigment to it.
Let me
Yeah,
ask,
so
are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? Okay, there being none, commissioners, any last questions, or we have a motion on this one?
The specific finding, this is the proposed VLT of 0.5, has not been illustrated to be transparent enough, but we are saying that's not.
It has.
It has been,
Yeah.
okay. Just want to make sure I'm tracking. I commend staff and everybody for figuring out this science and math, and
Yes,
it's
so
complicated.
Sarah Wernicke, Old Home Rescue. Part of this conversation, and we have had this conversation with staff, is being able to actually just have this conversation with commission, bring it to the attention that the guidelines are lacking in specific, even more specific narrative and guidance about what these numbers actually are and what these numbers actually mean, and their relevance to just windows in general. So part of this conversation is so that, because we do a lot of windows, both historic restoration of historic wood windows, also replacement windows, but especially storm windows, especially whenever we fix historic wood windows, we don't want them to get broken again. So the storm windows that we have proposed, we just want to make sure that, because we do submit a lot of these and still have some on the way to be heard, to be able to have this conversation so that we're not constantly having this conversation with staff behind closed doors and having something that should have been administratively approved, you guys keep hearing about it, so.
Please continue to educate us and show up to our workshops and share and communicate, to everybody, because
and
this is helpful.
we're gonna have a continuance of this conversation with a later case that we have for today, case number 9. But I want to try to keep this one to storm windows for the purposes of this case.
Is it common? So was there did I missee? Is there like a bug screen in the storm window?
So there are screens that are optional.
Is that addressed?
Yeah, does that change the light
That changes
transmittance?
the,
Do we consider that in the light transmittance?
So we don't consider that in the calculation of the light transmittance, but we do have language in the guidelines, and we do always ask about screens and the color of the screens and how opaque, because that can also make a window look completely blacked out.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, what we've, as they previously mentioned, the documentation that they've submitted to us shows measurements that do not meet the guidelines. So I was just wondering if, when you make your recommendation, that you have language that includes getting documentation showing the correct measures to staff. They've submitted a letter from a consultant, but that's not typically what we accept. We usually want documentation from the product manufacturer.
So unfortunately, you're not going to get that because that's not how they give out that information. Oh, never mind. We were really talking to them right before we...
So that the storm window manufacturer does not specifically have that listed on any of their certifications. However, it is a Pilkington glass, and Pilkington has that specific glass that does have a spec sheet on it that can be provided. I found out about 30 minutes ago.
Okay. That's all I needed.
Well, we
You
can add that as a
and-
condition
Yeah.
for you to get with staff and provide that.
Yes.
And it sounds like we need to add this to our subcommittee guideline workshop next week.
Yes, please.
Well, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve HPCA-25-00117 with the condition that the applicant provide the glazing information as needed to staff.
Okay,
Is
we've
that
got
with
a,
the findings? in-
Oh, and with the specific findings noted in the staff report.
okay, we've got a motion to approve with conditions. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that item has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, next up, HPCA-25-00119 at 441 Northwest 29th Street.
This is in Jefferson Park, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Malaika Khan for Meka LLC for certificate of appropriateness to 1, remove all wood siding and components elective, and 2, replace all wood components with LP Smart Side elective. The concerns here are that we don't have adequate documentation of all wood components to be removed, nor do we have adequate documentation that they warrant replacement in all cases. We do have photos of siding clearly showing damage, but we don't have the comprehensive documentation to verify or to support full replacement. And then as we discussed on an earlier case, the guidelines do not support replacing historic wood siding and other wood components with alternative materials like LP Smart Side. And I would say, as opposed to the previous structure where the siding was very high above grade, just in a gable end, this is the entire structure. So maybe a little bit of a different consideration there.
Hey, is the applicant present? It would appear that the applicant is not present.
and staff is recommending a continuance?
Okay, are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this item?
I'll make a motion
Does
to.
staff have an idea of when they would have any conversations with them of continuance date?
See, Angela, have you had any communication with them? No?
Do we just want to say
Okay.
January then, since we are coming, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, let's do January so that they can have time, if they want to compile additional information.
Because we've got holidays in there too, so.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to continue HPCA-25-00119 to the January meeting.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion, a second, to continue this to the January commission hearing. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that item has been continued. Next up, HPCA-25-00122 at 920 Northwest 20th Street.
This is in Mesta Park, Ward 6, consideration and possible action on application by Alyssa Faison for certificate of appropriateness to 1, remove driveway and replace not to exceed 10 feet wide elective, 2, remove retaining walls to accommodate increased width in the driveway elective, 3, alter driveway slope upward by 6 to 8 inches elective, and 4, alter topography of yard to slope to the driveway elective. This is a situation where we have historic, very narrow driveway with retaining walls to either side. The homeowner would like to widen that driveway to no more than 10 feet, but in order to do that, would have to remove those retaining walls and then slope the yard down to the driveway, or put retaining walls back, but sloping the yard seemed to be the more, their desired option in this case. I believe let me see.
Looks like staff recommends approval of all 4 items.
Yes.
Okay, is the applicant present? Don't think the applicant's present for this one either.
I'm happy to approve it if.
There's conditions, though. Can we approve if they're not here to accept the conditions?
Have they communicated that they are on board with the conditions?
The slope of the yard be altered only to the extent necessary to address the potential void beneath the driveway and introduce the wider driveway, and the all disturbed slopes will be stabilized and maintained.
Yes.
They're comfortable with that? Okay.
And if for some reason they're not, we'll come back.
Okay. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? There being none, do we have a motion?
I will make a motion for HPCA 2500122 with the specific findings and conditions in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve. Do we have a second? We've got a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, those items have been approved. Next, we've got HPCA-25-00124 at 715 Northwest 39th Street.
This is in Crown Heights, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Ron Duncan, Bob Duncan and Sons for Sarah Green for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct back porch cover elective. This generally appeared to meet applicable guidelines. Staff's primary concern was just the method of lighting the proposed porch cover. It's not typical of what we see on a historic structure, pergola, et cetera, and concern about the impact of that on this property and on neighboring properties with light flowing over to adjacent yards. So recommended approval with the condition that the lighting plan be considered by the commission and chosen for compatibility with the guidelines.
And you have that.
And they have, yes, and they have submitted, since the staff report went out, oh, I just closed out the meeting, darn, on my calendar, on my computer. Since the packet went out, they have provided additional documentation of their lighting plan.
Okay, is the applicant present? Okay, would you like to come forward and?
So
does-
go
ahead.
Sorry, I'd say the staff okay with the new lighting information that was submitted?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
Sarah Green, 715 Northwest 39th Street. Are we good on the lighting plan that was submitted?
Okay.
Then the only thing that I would like to add is, as someone who, for my employment, regularly conducts board meetings, having a meeting with over 600 pages of documentation is absolutely incredible, and I cannot commend the staff enough for the professionalism, and because I understand the work it takes to do this, so thank you all for that.
Thank you.
Okay.
We do have a great staff.
Yes.
Commissioners, any questions on this or comments?
I will make a motion to approve HPCA-25-00124 with the specific findings and condition noted in the staff report.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve with conditions. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that item has been approved. Thank you. Okay, next we've got HPCA-25-00126 at 523 Northwest 18th Street. Katie, tell us about this project.
This is in Mesta Park, Ward 6, consideration and possible action on application by Fallon Brooks Magnus Jellybird Design for Sarah Farzana Sapphire Estates for certificate of appropriateness to 1, demolish garage elective, 2, construct new 2-story garage elective, 3, remove rear exterior stair on primary dwelling elective, 4, remove rear door from 2nd-story addition elective, 5, remove rear window from 2nd-story addition elective, 6, remove door to driveway, and 7, construct new awning over rear basement door elective. I think staff was in support of the majority of these items. The main item of concern was the proposed 2-story garage. It is larger than the size that the guidelines support. It's also indicated to contain a dwelling, which the zoning does not permit. So that would need some revision to come into compliance. Items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all recommended for approval. And then just the construction of the garage is recommended for a continuance.
Okay, the applicant is present.
Hello, Fallon Brooks Magnus, 11 Northeast 11th Street, representing the applicant.
Okay, tell us about the project.
Yeah, so we're removing some windows and some stairs on the back of the house, and staff report is pretty straightforward on all of that. So I don't know that there's a lot of discussion that needs to happen there. If you want, we can just jump straight to this garage situation, unless anyone has questions about the rest of it.
Let's go to the garage.
Yeah.
All right, so this is an interesting site. So I don't know if you have photos, but they're in the packet. There's this structure, and then there's a few feet away, another little, it's clearly a little foundation for what was a garage, or what we think was, at some point, actually another dwelling unit, which is also what this was. So we think that there were these two little studio-sized dwelling units on either side of that back part of the property. They're not original to the site. This one has obviously got some age to it, but we don't know, we can't confirm what year it was built, and it's kind of, too far gone to repair. So the accessory dwelling, the garage with an accessory dwelling above it, was sort of going along those lines of, we already at some point had 3 units on the property, and so we kind of thought we could go for that. And we're not married to that. We don't want to rezone the property. We just had a pretty big footprint with some extra space upstairs. So it's not intended to really be a dwelling unit. We can remove any indication of that if we need to. But really, the footprint is what I want to talk about. We've got some other garages on the other side of the alley. One of them is 924 square feet, which is pretty close to the size that we're asking for. I expect that we're going to need to bring the footprint down some. We're at 960 square feet, and we started with that because that's a 2-story garage that I already had drawn, and it fit on the lot. So we fully expect that we're going to have to make it a little bit smaller in dimensions there. But as far as height goes, we've already reduced it a couple of feet, and it's not listed in the documentation, but the main building is at the front, from the roof to the ground, is 33 feet, and in the rear, almost 32, like 31 and a half. So this structure that we're proposing is 23 feet, I think. So we're not even remotely visible from the street. You'll never see it from any angle, really. Yeah, so that's any questions?
Was this historically a duplex, or has it been converted?
I believe it was always historically a duplex, yeah. Yep.
And it's still a duplex?
It is, yes.
Is that possibly a unique condition for a larger garage, if it's technically, multifamily?
Multiple units.
Because I can't think of, couldn't tell you locations, but there are other.
So 1922, it's a dwelling. And 1949, it's a flat. So I think this is one that was originally a single-family home, and like many, many other structures in this neighborhood, at some point was converted to more than one dwelling. So I think the most important precedent for how big a garage can be is how big the historic garage was, and the fact that a building historically, or at some point in time, had more than one unit doesn't necessarily justify, a garage larger than what the guidelines support. That's my opinion. But yes, it appears that it was built as a single-family home and then fairly early on converted to more than one unit.
Do we meet the threshold for a two-story garage?
We do.
Adjacent property?
Well, so this is the
Yes,
big discussion
directly
that has
abutting.
been occurring is, that the guidelines say if we know what the historic garage was and it was one story, your garage should be one story. If we don't know what it was, then here's the parameters for going to 2 stories. In this case, we know it was a 1-story garage, so that's kind of the other hurdle to get over.
I would say this goes back to what we've talked about previously is adapting for modern living. Part of the issue here is we have a multifamily property that doesn't really have any proper off-street parking other than the driveway out front. So that's kind of part of the strategy here is to have more off-street parking and make it covered because, if you're renting these are pretty large duplex units. They're, I don't think I have the square footage on them, but they're pretty good size. And so I think if you're renting a unit that's that large in a neighborhood that's this expensive, there are certain amenities that we sort of expect, and I think that this goes along with adapting our historic neighborhoods to modern living. So,
Yes, so long as it doesn't violate the guidelines. It seems super ambitious.
it seems what?
Super ambitious.
It is super ambitious. Now, take away the secondary dwelling unit, just remove that. There's just empty space up there, and it's just the garage in the footprint. And compared to what's on the block, which are, ranging from
Yeah, but I'm just gonna stop. A lot of that's the reason why the guidelines were changed is because of some overly sized garages that were built. So that's not a precedent for an extenuating circumstance.
Okay.
I don't think.
Is there anything in the guidelines on the 3-door garage versus 2? Because did we normally allow 3 or?
We don't have anything that talks about how many garage doors you can have. We talk about single car doors instead of double car width doors from just a proportion standpoint. But there's nothing that says, if you had a site large enough, if it was appropriate to build a 3-car garage, there's nothing that says you can't have a 3-car garage. We just
Or
don't
do
see
you have a
them
3-car
often.
garage and 450 square feet, or what percentage of the lot?
Now, if we take 2 feet off of the back of it, it gets us below 900 square feet. Do we start to get somewhere that feels more appropriate? Like, what
That's
can
still
we do to
double.
get there? Do what?
That's still double.
I understand, but it's 2 units. You're servicing parking for 2 units.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I had a problem with. If it's 2 units, then it's 4 or 2. Like 3 is
Well,
just.
there's a dedicated off-street parking in the front as well, so that takes us to 4 total parking spaces on site.
But the guidelines are a 450 square foot garage for the property. It's irrelevant of what the use of the
fair.
property is.
I would
Right.
argue that, I mean,
Because the intent of it's all about massing.
sure. Which, if we want to talk about massing, I mean, we're almost 10 feet shorter than the main house. We're completely not visible from the street. As far as massing goes, it's, I think, pretty respectable to the site. Yeah.
What if it were 2 garage bays, and then like a portico share for coverage? I don't know if that would I don't know what kind of guidelines that would. But would be less like solid.
Well, if it was 2-story, yes. I mean, 2-story unit and then
And a
portico
single-
shack.
yeah.
Single story, single unit portico shack.
Yeah. Would 2-car garage. And then a covered, are you saying?
Like a 1-story, 1-bay portico shack type thing, that would reduce the massing overall because you would just have one smaller on the side.
Yeah, and
Because
our-
3-car garage, 2-story is bigger than some of my
Sorry,
houses.
I didn't introduce myself. Vahid Farzana, my wife, Sarah Farzana. We actually live next door to this house at 525, and it's about 2,200 square feet, and we purchased this property next door to us, 523 Northwest 18th, October of last year, and it was already a duplex rental. I personally just wanted to fix it up. I live next door. I'm pretty invested. I have kids. So we've been in this process right now. I think it's being renovated pretty well. And this back alleyway area where we have the garage is just, you can't see in the picture, but the one next to it, it's all tiled. The tile is still there. So there's definitely some unit there. I understand that the size is definitely, as Fallon mentioned, we're definitely going to shrink it. But we're just wondering, and you said double car garage. What's this? This 450, David Remy. You said 450. Is there, because there are some at 950 square feet in the area. And just to be clear, we're not going for a zoning to make this a rental. I'm actually going to use, I don't have a office at my house, so I'm literally building an office. I live right next door to it. So we're not even asking for it to be a rental or to even do that. So just didn't know how much flexibility there was on the size of it for personal use.
I think it would be helpful to have, if there are larger garages on your block, larger garages at properties surrounding you, to kind of come in with that information to say,
Absolutely.
you know,
Very good point.
450 is the baseline, but everybody on the block is 600 square feet.
That's actually in the packet.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yep. If
Sorry.
you go to what I submitted, it is on page A8. And so you can see, like on the east end of the alley, we've got a 684 square foot, 924, 846, 504, 580, 551. You can see the pattern here. They're pretty big. I like what Commissioner Poore is saying, like we could reduce it and get like a lean-to, like an extra covered space. I think that would solve our problem. But I would remind the commission that if we have a second story, we would need an additional square footage to get that covered stair in there, which is about 550-ish square feet, maybe a little less than that. So if we could get to a place where we could say, like, this footprint is acceptable or not, then we could resubmit a new proposal for next month. So that's what I would like to walk away with.
And Katie, when you were saying the 1-story we know is 1-story, is that based on Sanborn maps or do we have photographic?
That's based on the structure that's currently there.
That's not a garage.
Okay. Sanborn's, we've got a 1-story, very small auto house in 1949 and in 1922. And we think that's not the same structure as what's there now?
They're different dimensions. Yeah.
Okay. So yes, through 1955, Sanborn maps show a 1-story auto house in the rear corner of the property. I'm not aware that we have any photo documentation of that structure. We're just going on what the...
There's
you do?
actually some photos in the packet. They're in the, I'm so
Can you
sorry,
tell-
Kate. I hate to keep calling you out, but come on. No, I'm kidding.
Daryl, get up and talk.
On 10, 11, and 12, which 10 is also labeled 10 because Fallon was doing something. But if you look at the interior of this, it looks like it was probably built in the 50s. Like there's some materials on the walls that are pretty indicative of that time period. So I think that it is most likely not an original structure.
Okay,
but
we
it
don't
is
we don't
still
have photos of the
older.
1922 1-story auto.
Oh yeah,
house.
we don't
think
know
this
that
is-
doesn't
We think
exist.
this is not that.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to throw you under the
and
bus.
this is clearly not a garage that's
right
in the photos. So I guess my question or point is I'm trying to help you cross the hurdle of if you had provided a photograph of a 1-story garage, you would have just sunk.
Oh, I see.
your
I
argument.
see. Okay, yes. That is not the original structure,
So-
and we don't know what it looked like.
So I would say if you're generally starting with that 450 square feet, and then if there are additional unique circumstances, for instance, the 450 assumes it's a clear two-car garage. Well, obviously, if you're going to make it put a wall down the middle of it, that may have to grow a little bit to accommodate that unique circumstance of the duplex, possibly, the stairs. So I think there is some, my opinion, some wiggle room there. I just don't know that you can justify basically an 1,800 square foot garage apartment.
It's fair. It's fair. All right. Well, then, in that case, I think we'll come back next month, and it's just a garage, so I can get it submitted next week for next month, so. Okay.
Okay, we do have some items, though, that, outside of that, I'm
We
assuming.
can discuss those too. Staff
Okay.
recommended approval on them,
Okay,
but if
okay.
anyone has questions, I'm happy to discuss that too.
Do we have any comments on the other items outside of the garage? Commissioners would like to discuss or have questions on?
Are we approving the items that staff has recommended, or is it better just to continue everything?
Oh, no.
I see no reason not to approve the other items because they're all pretty much on the primary structure. And that way they could get moving with that work.
Is that okay with you guys?
Let me ask, are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this item?
You want to come back
Okay,
next
there
month or
being none.
January?
Say that again?
Do you want to come back next month or in January?
Yeah, next month. That's, I probably have a garage that fits these parameters. Enough
Then
of
I will make a motion to approve items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 with the specific findings noted in the staff report.
Does the, as a reminder, demolished, does that have to be its own?
Oh, yes, we need a separate motion for the demolition, sorry. So everything, your motion stands for everything but item 1.
Yes.
So it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7?
Yep.
Correct, okay.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve and a second, items 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Commissioners, please cast your votes.
Then I will make a motion to approve item 1 on HPCA 25-00126 with the specific findings noted in the staff report.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve item 1. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that item has been approved. It just takes us down to the last item, construct new two-story garage.
And I will make a motion to continue item 2 on HPCA-25-00126 to the December meeting.
Okay, we've got a motion to continue item 2 to the December hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
We've got a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes.
Thank you.
Okay, that item has been continued. Thank you. We have
Thank you so much.
HPCA-25-00127 at 829 Northwest 41st Street. Katie, tell us about this project.
This is Crown Heights Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Sarah Warnicki, Old Home Rescue for, sorry, I'm hearing echoing. Old Home Rescue for Greg Shepard for certificate of appropriateness. 1, replace windows on the garage, elective. Myself, which window topic this one was. I think we had one window that was not fully documented to show that replacement was necessary, and some similar discussion about VLT as previously noted. Yes, recommended continuance with additional information on the window on the front facade of the garage and the VLT.
Okay, thank you. The applicant is present.
Yes.
Okay.
Sarah Warnicki, Old Home
Thank you.
Rescue. And yes, we'll continue to talk about windows. So difference between last case and this case is that those were storm windows being put on the historic windows that were on the house. These ones are replacement windows for about 20-year-old aluminum clad wood windows that were installed in the garage. So our proposal is just to replace the failed replacements with a product that matches better with with more historic dimensions and profiles than what are there currently.
Okay,
But
Commissioners,
again,
what-
one of the main questions is about the VLT. We'll note that these windows, the VLT will be lower because they have muntins. And as previously discussed, muntins are part of the components that create that lower VT number, not the VLT number. Although the windows that we have proposed are at a 0.7, not a 0.74 VLT. So there's that.
You're at what, 0.7?
Yes, we're at a 0.7 and not a 0.74.
But it's a dual pane, low E glaze,
Yeah.
no tint.
So we have a sample
Yeah,
of it.
okay.
If we brought show and tell, just in case.
Why was the number 0.74? Like what, Katie, why? Seems kind of random.
That is before my time, and I do not know.
Oh, all the answers?
I did not write that part.
Yeah.
Angela, do you recall at all when those were developed, if that
I
number
don't even
came
remember.
from?
Do we know what MPS?
I don't remember.
So MPS doesn't care about VLT. I reviewed tax credit projects and Section 106 projects for the past 7 years at the State Historic Preservation Office, and we never cared about VLT.
They don't usually get into the minutia of
No,
the metrics like that. Although I'm sure they care about your windows not looking black or purple or green.
Yes, they
et cetera.
do. But that's why it specifically just says clear, low E, no tinting. It doesn't say anything about VLT. As long as the components of the window match as humanly possible to what is there, if they are historic windows that are beyond repair, and then if there aren't any historic windows left, then we get as close as possible to and match the character of the building, not necessarily what may have been there historically when we don't know. But in the thousands of projects that I reviewed for the SHPO, we never once discussed VLT.
So when the guidelines and standards were being worked on, we had a consultant that worked through this with us, and one of the big deals was that homeowners wanted to be able to acquire low E. And we had no way of measuring the results of what low E looked like from the exterior. Excuse me. And so measurements for VLT and for reflectivity were something that the consultant worked on for us to limit how reflective it became and how dark that opening became. And those were the only criteria that we had at the time that were applicable. And technology has evolved exponentially and will continue to do so.
Can I ask
So
when
the
this was?
conversation.
Can I ask when that was?
2012.
Oh, 2012, yes. Okay. Well, perhaps maybe something else to review.
Yeah.
I don't know, 0.7 isn't that far off from 0.74. It's replacing non-historic windows and it's on a garage that is not really seen from the street, so I don't have a huge problem with it.
Very close.
It's close.
It's close. It's so close.
Super close.
Yeah.
Does that sound like a motion?
Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this item?
Yeah.
The only thing I want to add in addition to that is I know staff has recommended 2 other products that do have a VLT rating that is above 0.74. However, when you look at the cross-section of those components, we have for the last 7 years been repairing things on historic homes, and even not historic homes through also had a franchise that we started that was working on homes through Edmond and across 11 other locations. The windows that were, the alternate windows that do have that VLT rating that passes are prone for failure. So they do not have a longevity. And so, whereas I have a hard stance of like the other one is above the standard, I think this one is a serviceability question and how long does the product actually last that we're going to be charging the same amount to put in a person's home.
thank you. Commissioners, any last questions? Do we have a motion on this one?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve HPCA-25-00127 with the specific findings noted in the staff report.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve. Commissioners, please cast your votes. That item has been approved.
So
Thank
do we
you.
need to do the additional, I'm just asking for clarification. So we do need to submit the additional information that was
Yes,
requested?
we just skipped right over that on the.
I want to make sure that we're answering all the
This
questions.
is the part where you don't say anything and you just happily walk out of the room.
But see, I've been on your side of the table and I
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yes, so yes, if you could submit additional information on that one remaining window to staff.
Yes, will
that'd
do.
be great.
Do we need to
Yes,
reword that motion?
Going to edit
think
that motion
we-
to say that it's a condition that they submit that to staff.
Okay. You did say the findings provided by staff, so.
It was in the, it's in the,
It's included, you don't have to.
all right, okay.
Yeah,
part
I
of
just
the-
wanted
it's
to
part of the
double
motion.
check, because
Yeah.
usually it's all that huge thing, so I just wanted to make sure that you still wanted that information.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Okay, next up, HPCA-25-00128 at 500 Northwest 41st Street.
This is Crown Heights Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Sarah Wernicke, Old Home Rescue, for Matthew Corstens for
Yes.
certificate of appropriateness to remove and replace fence elective. This is a little bit unusual of an application. They are wanting to remove their fence posts and reinstall new fence posts and put the same fence panels back up, if I'm understanding that correctly.
That is correct, yes.
Typically that would be something we would administratively approve. However, the existing fence that they want to reinstall does not meet the guidelines for height on the sides. So this would be either a continuance asking them to revise the height of the fence so that it does not exceed what the guidelines allow, or it would be approval with a unique circumstance that they are reinstalling existing fence panels.
Okay, the applicant is present. Do you want to add anything?
Basically, our client just purchased this home and basically inherited an illegal thing. And so when we were trying to address this, we did not know that it was done without permits, without a CA. And so in order to satisfy what the client would like, which is to not have a fence that's falling over, we had originally said that we were going to replace the fence, and then it was discovered through staff after submission that these items being the fence and there's a deck that's immediately behind that fence in that corner, that they were done without a CA or permits. And so to try to eliminate the possibility of having to remove everything, because the client does want to keep the deck because it's there. But if we take it down to 6 feet, then the fence will be at like hip height, and which is obviously not conducive for privacy. So in order to try to keep what's there, we're just asking to replace the post so the existing fence itself is not falling down. I hope that makes sense.
I mean, if they're just replacing the post, isn't there like some percentage of?
Isn't that just maintenance?
Yeah.
I think once you replace the post, you're supposed to get a fence permit. And if you get a fence permit, then you automatically have to get a CA, so.
To replace fence posts you can't even see? You have to have a permit?
So replace 2 fence posts, and then a month later, replace 2
Yeah,
more
this
as
seems like
maintenance.
This seems like maintenance to
I'm a
me.
rule follower. so-
Ordinary maintenance and repair, I have been told from the permitting office, is not applicable to fences, that any repair to any fence or gate requires a permit.
And I think that's because each time they are ensuring that the fence meets code, that it meets rules for height and for setback, like outside of a historic district as well, not just for us.
A little concerning, they're so concerned about a fence versus some other things on home construction.
Oh, yeah. I remember the time when you always spend like 30, 45 minutes on a fence and get 5 minutes on a window. And but I get it. And because this thing was not previously reviewed, you'd all see it.
So is the proposal to take it all down and build it new?
No, so that's what the original plan was.
Okay.
And then when we figured out that this was done without oversight, to try to keep what was there, because we had originally proposed that it would go back the way that it was, just with new panels. But overall, the panels are still in pretty good condition. It's just the posts have rotted out when they hit the ground, as they meet the ground. And so now we've sort of revised after the fact to just replacing the posts and keeping the existing panels so that it would at least look the same way as it does in its current condition.
But you're using metal fence posts.
So we're using metal
so
posts so that it doesn't
happen
keep
again.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can get behind a repair project as opposed to a replace, with the unique circumstance being that it's an existing condition that just is needing to be maintained.
Yeah, I'm happy to make a motion if there's nobody that.
Yeah, is there anybody from the public who wishes to speak on this item? There being none, do we have a motion?
Oops, wait. This says remove and replace fence, though. We're not doing that.
Correct. So you could
Just say
include, say, with the condition that the existing fence panels are reused and replaced.
Okay, yeah.
So I move approval for 25-00128 to repair the fence and leave the panels as they are there.
Okay.
Second.
We've got a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Oh, we do have, I'm sorry. Okay, commissioners, please cast your votes.
Thank you very much.
That item has been approved. Thank you. Okay, that takes us into other business. We've got 3 items there. The first 2 being schedules for our commission meetings and workshops. Do we vote to approve those?
Yes.
I forget.
So, and can they motion and vote to approve items A and B as one? No? Okay, so motion and a vote on A and then another on B. This is our schedule that we file annually with the city clerk's office to record our meetings. I don't think we had anything too crazy with either of these, but we'll get those on everybody's calendars.
I make a motion to approve the regular schedule for 2026 for the Preservation Commission meetings.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve the meeting schedule. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, and then we'll need a,
I make a motion to approve the regular schedule for 2026 for the Historic Preservation Workshop meetings.
okay, we've got a motion to approve the workshop schedule. Do we have a second?
Second.
We've got a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that schedule has been approved as well. Thank you.
I hate to do this. Could we do like a 2-minute recess?
Yes. Yes, we usually do take a break if we get to 4
Ollie's
o'clock.
only going to talk for 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah, just.
I was actually going to say, I've taken so much of your time. I apologize for keeping you for one more.
It's all right. We'll take a quick break.
Very well.
Thank you. Okay, we're all back. Okay, we can get started. Oh,
Take over?
can you take roll for us? Because I think we have to do roll, right? Yeah. Okay, we're.
Yeah, I was wondering, because I didn't,
Yes, there's, well, it's not a PowerPoint presentation, but there's an attachment with the, and I can share my screen if we need to, with the drawings. So,
We need roll call.
yep.
Thank you.
Robbie, do you have a list down there to do roll call, or you want me to do it? You're fine. Okay. Let me go to my, Milner,
Present.
Gaines, Poor,
Present.
Remy,
Present.
Whitley.
Present.
Okay, we have full attendance. Quorum.
Okay, next up, we've got an informational presentation, and this is under other business.
Yes, so real
Don't
quickly.
have many of these, so
Yeah, this is a property where the commission previously reviewed an application to demolish a structure. And while we're talking, I didn't include any photos of that, but I'll pull up the Google Street View that shows it. This was within the last year or so. And that demolition, I believe, was denied and went to Board of Adjustment, and Board of Adjustment overturned the denial. They upheld the appeal, if I remember correctly. This is a different property owner, a different applicant. They weren't involved with the demolition itself, but are now coming through to apply for new construction at the site. This area is zoned to allow two-family residential, so they could build a duplex by right, but are interested in building a duplex plus an accessory dwelling, a garage apartment. Partly because this property was kind of a sensitive one with that structure having just recently been demolished, and because we just went through some very lengthy discussions about ADUs in historic districts and negotiating all of that, I thought it would be good to do an informational presentation prior to the rezoning application, because they'll have to do an SPUD to have the ADU, to get some feedback on the additional dwelling as well as on the overall design, et cetera, from the commission before it comes before you all for an actual recommendation.
Did you get these garage plans from Fallon?
no, sir, not at all. Why, are they similar? Are they? Hello, everyone. Holly Hunt, 5913 Northwest 82nd Circle. Yeah, let's try to make this quick. We got this, my client bought it as a blank slate. He was told, you can do a duplex and an apartment garage. And he buys it. So we're going through the progress. Me and Katie have met many times on this. So we are going to be heard by the Board of Adjustment for the SPUD approval next BOA meeting, so the third Thursday of this month. And, I don't expect a ton of pushback on it. We're basically able to make an allowance for that ADU on an R2 lot, because this is historic landmark as well. It's not, right, is it?
Right, so this is the HL overlay, so the base zone, there's a variety of base zones under the HL overlay, so this is actually in the
R2.
It's R2 base zone, so that allows for two attached residences.
Correct. So then, I send this to Katie to bring to you all for approval, and she's like, hey, you can't do that. So that's why we're doing the SPUD. So today is really to introduce the project to you. Obviously, you're going to see this again and make a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment very soon, I imagine. But I just want to introduce the site and see if there were any other things that you guys foresee as being issue when we come to get our CA. One thing I want to notice in this side-by-side existing on the left and proposed on the right, we're actually reducing the footprint of that garage by some square feet, but we are going to provide a 3-car garage, obviously as a multifamily property. Off-street parking is important. So we get 3 in the garage, and we can still park in that driveway and beside the building. So I'm, of course, before you see it for HP approval, you'll have a lot coverage comparison, but it'll be close. This garage that was previously demoed was enormous. It did have a full upstairs apartment, and then, of course, just a single-family bungalow in the front. But I will tell you, on this block, there's at least 3 multifamily apartment complexes that are all 2-story. So it's a common thing. And as Katie said, this is already zoned for more than 1 unit per lot. So that again, it's just that garage apartment that is holding us up, and so we'll rezone to allow for that. But again, a big part of what we're trying to do is increase affordable housing in Oklahoma City through urban density. I've tried in this duplex to really play off of a lot of architectural details we see on this street. It's Craftsman bungalows. If it's a single-family house, that's the predominant style. So you can see in the elevations on 3.1. Do I just click to move forward? Okay. Oh, scroll.
Holly, when was that demolished?
I have no idea. I really don't. And until now, I didn't know there was like bad juju with that at all. Like, my client wasn't made aware of any of that, unfortunately.
But quick glance, my comments, I mean, if you can get it rezoned, I don't have a problem with an accessory unit. I kind of have the same comment that I have for Fallon's case. Just because there's, 3 different units on the site doesn't mean they all deserve to have or have to have a garage. It seems a little excessive to me. So, I recommended a porte-cochere and shrinking the above unit down and approaching it possibly that way. And so I kind of have the same comment to you as well for this site.
Well, in fact, the requirement is 1. No, it's, Katie, we just went through this, and I'm an idiot. Is it 2 per unit?
The parking
plus
requirement is 2 per unit, or 1.5 spaces for a 1-bedroom or a studio. And for straight zoning, garages don't count toward your parking. However, when you're doing an SPUD, you can write your own rules. You could say no parking required and see, get that approved.
So I was just saying that we're not doing a 3-car garage in order to allow each unit their required park. It's more just we're trying to get as much out of the site as possible when it's redeveloped. Again, this area is known for having a variety of different kinds of properties. There's many SPUDs in the Jefferson Park HL overlay district. There's commercial, light commercial. There's lots of variety. So again, this is just a way in which we can continue to provide good housing for workers that also need access to downtown, not pricing everybody out of these areas. So these are, lower income units, but we really want to maximize the beauty of the street.
Caution the word affordable housing and lower income units unless you're truly income subsidizing the units. I would probably use, they're probably market rate. Honestly, they become obtainable because they're smaller. So they become more attainable housing. But unless you're truly getting and subsidizing people to move in, I probably would caution that word.
I didn't just say low income, I said affordable. I mean, for a lot of people to live in these historic districts, they're priced out, or there's not available apartments because, as we know, like even single family units and even duplexes aren't allowed an additional like garage apartment. So, that's again like why we're going through all of this to make it perfectly legal and allowable, even though it was historically that way on the site. It had the garage apartment. So, we're doing this, but again, it's just, again, like there's a great need for housing in the city. And affordable is different according to who you are, I guess. But, you know, there's a lot of young professionals, a lot of people who need a one or two bedroom
I'm not
apartment.
opposed to having accessory units at all. That's not my comment. And if you can get the approval through for your SPUD, I'm concerned about the number of garages. It seems a little excessive and a little too large for the space. So is there a way to approach it and still get a unit upstairs, but perhaps it only becomes a one bedroom?
Yeah, most market rate housing does not include covered parking. As someone who does a lot of multifamily, it's nice to have if you can get it, but I agree. I think that's a really big garage for what is.
Even though it's a reduction in the existing historic garage that was on the site, it's reducing the size of that one that was demoed by 200 square feet. So historically on this site, it had a large two-story structure, and we're actually reducing its footprint quite a bit. Again, if it's just the fact that it's enclosed like garage parking, I think we could look at an open air situation for sure.
You have that garage, your site plan doesn't show the existing.
Yeah, I was gonna see if I could go back to that.
Wait, no, there it is, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
Holly, for me,
Yes.
because it's a SPUD, because there was an existing mass and structure there that was larger than what you're proposing, to me, I don't object to any of that. I think the two hurdles for me, or the things that kind of jump out at me, is the circle drive in the front yard.
I was gonna bring that up to you all, because that's not typically something you like in the district, right?
I'd be opposed to that. And then checking your overall lot impervious coverage would be my two comments. Other than that, I think you make an argument with the SPUD that I don't really object to personally.
Anyone want to comment on the exterior design at all? You know, one thing that we combat in the middle of a street among a bunch of single-family one-stories is that compatibility. And before you see it for approval, I'll definitely get I'm going to do a full streetscape so you can see those larger buildings at either end, at either intersection, as well as, you know, how we compare to these bungalows that are beside it. But that's the reason for doing, you know, a one-story porch that projects, still is set back, of course, according to the building line. So even that one-story structure is behind the 25-foot setbacks. We're not projecting out into the street. So we hit you with the one story and then it grows. I've also oriented the roof structure, you know, to slope away from the street. So again, it doesn't have like this massive view from the street. I've pushed it back as far as I can. But any comments? And again, you can see on the front, we've got, you know, some more architectural features, some knee brackets and so forth. And those have been removed on the rear. And sorry that.
To my architect friends on the horseshoe, the height or
That was my question. So you have the height labeled on the garage, but not on the primary structure. Do you know what the height of that is?
So let's see if that's.
And what about the like roof
16.
height too on the primary? Does it seem?
I'm going to say
like
it's around
really large or no?
22 to 23
Well, you have
or 4
26'4" on your ADU. So I'm assuming that's not taller than your duplex.
I'm just kind of, sorry.
21 feet, and then whatever the roof adds to 21 feet.
Yeah. If I was on the spot and embarrassed, I could probably do that math in my head, but right now.
Well, just something
But
to
before
look at when you.
Sure, certainly.
It looks, 21 feet's the top plate of the second floor, it looks
Right.
like, and then whatever your roof pitch is. So I think you're gonna be under, I think 35 feet is the zoning requirement?
Certainly, that's the requirement, yes.
I think
And
you're
that's
under
outlined in the spec.
35 feet.
Certainly, yes. But I see what you're getting at, like, let's make sure that the garage isn't competing
Yes,
with
it
the
needs
main
to
building.
feel secondary. Regardless of, you know, what that footprint ends up being, it does need to feel
Yeah.
secondary. And then another question I had, because I was looking at the elevation, the east elevation of the ADU, because that elevation shows no windows on it, but your plan shows a second floor window.
Yeah, that's
and
me
the
just
shower.
messing up. Thanks for pointing that out. I'll make sure and get that on there. Again, we were rushed to get to Board of Adjustment, and they really just need site plan, but because this is historic, I wanted to get as much information to Katie as possible, so, you know, I was putting the right things into the SPD. So that's an oversight. Commissioner Whitley, I'll get that fixed before you guys see this for
Yeah, my
approval.
comment is going to be, I don't love a blank elevation entirely.
I know y'all
so
hate that.
If it has a window, great.
Yeah, so I'll make sure and do that. I mean, another thing I would mention is, you know, I've got some divided light on the front of the house. We remove those for the rest of the windows, even on the main structure. Again, it's just a way to minimize like pastiche or trying to borrow from the past, but also if that's something that stands out to you all, I'm certainly willing to do more elaborate windows. And then the one other thing I wanted to mention is the privacy. A lot of times with multifamily in a single family street, people are concerned about privacy, and I just did want to point out that there are no upper floor windows that look into the side yards. The only side windows on the second floor are into the stairwell. So all windows go either to the front yard or to the backyard. So that's something I just wanted to point out. It was brought up when we discussed the SPUD for privacy. So there's no need for obscuring glass and things that the Board of Adjustment like us to do on second floor.
I don't
doesn't
have
bother
an
me.
issue with privacy.
Air rights are.
Well, so this was,
I would say that, like, I hope you did consider in your SPUD what your parking requirements are, because I would hate for it to come back and you try to tell us, well, we have to put 6 spaces on here because that's how it was written in the SPUD. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
You can always add more than what's required, but don't put yourself in a tough position where you're going to end up eating a lot of site, and then you have to go back and either revise it or you can't get it through, or.
I will tell you that that was a conversation, and specifically we wrote into the SPUD to allow the garage parking to count towards our parking, which wouldn't otherwise without that distinguishing statement. Because again, as Katie mentioned, garage do not count towards your parking for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think she was just saying that, like, you could theoretically propose 0 parking requirements and then do whatever you want.
Do you expect them to approve that? And especially, like, the neighbors would hate that. Like, hey, we're going to provide these 6 units.
We're not proposing that. It's okay.
Right. Okay. So I'm trying to get right in the middle
I did a
with
lot of
1.5 and the garage.
Yeah, I will, on the topic of the privacy and the windows on the side, because this is something that comes up with Planning Commission when they're, and it goes to Planning Commission, not Board of Adjustment. I know we just did one that was a
I'm
variance.
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
You're right.
They, as they have seen more density and infill in otherwise single-family residential neighborhoods, a lot of times they put in requirements about windows on the side, that they be like clerestory windows, or that the glass be frosted or opaque, or different things like that. And typically in historic districts, we have said, you're in an urban area, you're in a historic neighborhood, you need to have window spacing and proportions that are comparable to the surrounding historic structures. So I think generally they're going to defer to the commission on that type of thing, but that may just be something for the applicant to consider and for the commission to consider as this comes through the review process, to address that in particular, because it's been kind of an issue with some of these rezoning applications.
Okay, so I'll wrap this up because I know y'all are all itching to get out of here. But it sounds like the size of the garage is the main point of concern. And so again, like, you know, I went ahead and dashed out the parking requirement, space requirement for subdivision and zoning and the zoning ordinance, just to show you, like, this is not an exuberant garage, it's really just fitting 3 cars. If as a part of the CA, we need to scale this building in, we can talk about that then, but I want you to know, like, I'm not trying to build something huge back here. I'm just trying to replace some development that was previously there, and in hopes that his.
You don't have to pitch us right now.
Yep.
Come back and pitch.
Yeah, I
Yes,
appreciate
thank
your
you.
feedback, guys.
Holly, just a couple quick
Yes, please.
initial reactions to the elevation. So
because it's new construction, you don't have to, like, you want to be sensitive to the surroundings, but you don't have to mimic the architectural detailing if you don't want to. But if you're going to do that, some of the things that jump out at me that maybe need to go farther is it reads, most houses that are going to have this type of detailing usually are going to sit higher up off of the grade. And this is a slab on grade, so everything kind of feels compressed down.
I hear you, yeah.
So just there's some minor kind of inconsistencies like that just kind of look at it. I think it gets built, it's very nice. So I'm not
Are you
critiquing.
trying to tell me you'd be okay with a taller building?
I would.
You have up to 35 feet. And
My
it's
house is
only-
taller than this, but I put my house sits 2 feet off of the grade.
Yeah, again, this is modest. You can see my plate heights, only 8-foot ceilings, down and up. So, I mean,
Yeah.
for bringing that up, maybe that's something to look at.
I guess my point is, right now, it feels like it's sort of in a very well done, cost-effective middle ground that is trying to look historic. And I think it could either go
Nailed it.
one way, or it could have some minor detailing. Like, for instance, I made the mistake of, I didn't realize I didn't have to do this, but I built my house at 2 foot off the grade. Well, that requires custom formwork, which is very expensive. But you could still do like an 18-inch off grade, and that's a standard form. So I just think there's some minor things that wouldn't cost more money that might make it pull off more historic, if that is what you're going for. If you're not going for historic, then
Well, and this is interesting, being HL, it's like not as extreme as perhaps how we address things in Heritage Hills and Mesa Park and Crown Heights, which I'm obviously more used to working in. Jefferson Park is kind of our like neat little cousin that has such a variety of construction and multifamily homes. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of getting used to it, but I appreciate that point.
Do we have any?
But I think what the house
Let me
that.
pause, everybody. We're about to.
Close it up.
Do we have?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Let me just dash through this here. Okay, communications and reports, administrative approvals.
Nothing to call out. Always ask us questions if you have any. No withdrawals, no administrative closings. We don't have anything from City Council. We do have an item with Holly going to Board of Adjustment tomorrow, one of a case that was appealed by a neighbor, so I'll report back on that. Nothing for Planning Commission. Municipal Councilor.
Do we have anything from you? I'm going to condense this. Our next scheduled meeting is Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025 at 2 p.m. City Council Chambers. Info was received by November 4th. Our next workshop is scheduled for Wednesday, November 12th, 2025 from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Any items from commissioners? Any citizens to be heard? There are none. We will adjourn at 4:37. Thank you.
Thank you all.